Prost. Get my notes up. I forgot the name of the show.
It's the Mahjong Den YouTube channel.
Welcome to Prost. Get my notes up. I forgot the name of the show. A show of roasting pros. Who's roasting whom? Mostly everybody. Come along with us as we pick the best minds in the game to better understand all the things we do wrong.
And since I forgot last time, make sure you subscribe and like this video, please, because we need more subscribers so that we can bring you more pros and more everything. So each week on the show, each week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we feature one streamer. We watch their VODs and analyze, check out spots, see what we would be thinking about. Today, we have not watched any of the hands beforehand, so we're really just going to stop the hand and tell you what we would do or what we were thinking about at certain points in the hand. And the hands that we will be watching were played by RPG Reki-san, a huge supporter of the community on Twitch. You should definitely go follow him on Twitch. He's actually a VTuber, our first VTuber. This is his second time on the show. And he has Bunny Man, a really good looking Bunny Man, as well as a very cute little bunny. He switches back and forth between those. So thank you very much, Reki-san, for letting us prost you today.
And along with our prostee, we have our proster. Today's guest, Shintaro Konno. He has been a part of Renmei since the 1900s. When he started, he won the Shinjin O, which we established last time was the Rookie Cup. He is also currently in the A2 League, which means he is that close to moving up to A1. Go, 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 go. You may know him for his photogenic style as a mafia hitman in various shoots like on Night Fight Club and Renmei. But we know him as the eternally lovable and absolutely irreplaceable part of Renmei's machinery, without whom the whole thing would probably just fall apart. Welcome back to the show, Konno.
Welcome, yokoso. Besides all of the things that you just said, he's also a very dear friend to both of us, who we have traveled with, overseas with. When we want a private study session, he's our go-to sensei.
Also indispensable to our entire careers as Mahjong players.
And also, you should follow him on Twitter.
Oh, yes.
Here or somewhere. So are we ready to get into our next hand?
Ready for the next hand.
Ready. And here we go. This is East round. First hand, the Dora is once again the 5 of Bams. If you remember our last episode, it was also the 5 of Bams with Konno-san. This time we're in the South Seat. And in first place by about Mangan or so. The hand kind of looks okay, but...
It looks okay, but is it?
First. And see, what would you do with this? We have 2 side weights. We have a little 2 of Bams kind of hanging out there, and 2 also Jihai character tiles that are just kind of floating around. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4 decided blocks. Not really sure what is the best thing to do here. I guess maybe west? I don't have a vision for this hand.
In our last episode, like, you want to go into the hand maybe thinking, okay, here's my plan for this hand. This hand, it's hard to really think, okay, here's my plan. Here's a definite direction I want to go. Yeah, what do you do here?
この曲、まず一番最初に考えることは、ない曲じゃないですか。
はい。
だから相手の持ち点をちょっと考えます。で、今自分が3万8400点持ってるトップ目で、2番手が2万9500点で2人いて、で、親が2万2600点の、ラス目なんで、この曲は自分の点数高い安いじゃなくて早く上がることで、親を流すことを一番最初に考えますね。で、ここで親が、流れると、その上茶はね、22,600点のラス目で、目標がトップを狙うことよりもラスを抜けることに移行してくると思うんですよね、次の曲から。なので自分のトップ目があまり狙われなくなる、一人目標から遠ざけることができるので、自分のトップ率を上げることができるのでトップを取る可能性ですね。なのでこの曲は 高い手を作るというよりもなるべく早く上がる手を考えますね。なので、第一打シャアを切っておいてもちろんチューン重ねてもいいですし一通になっていってもいいし、ちょっと2差しの3色もあるので、ここはシャアを切りたいところですかね。
So you said that since we're in the South round, we're going to start looking at the other players' points. So actually in the East round, you're not really worrying about how many points the other players have. Is that what I'm understanding here?
そうですね。トンバってことはトンナ戦だったら親は必ず最低でももう1回あるのであまり気にしないでいいと思うんですけど、何番になってくると相手の親をね流すとか自分ので親を連チャンすると親が結構重要なポイントになってくるので、ここはねラス目の親なので、ラスを押し付けに行くと言いますかね。でもう一つあるのはこの曲あまりリーチを打ちたくないんですよね。リーチを打ってしまうと自分はトップ目なんでね後ろから来る目標になってしまう。なのでリーチはなるべくしないで手役を作って、手役は安くてもいいんですよね。だからチューン重ねてもいいしピーグでもいいし、一通でもいいし、ただリーチだけはあまり打ちたくないなっていう。リーチを打つんであれば三面ちゃんとか上がれやすい形じゃないとちょっとリーチは打ちたくないなっていう感じですかね。
So guys, I kind of feel like I wasn't thinking that I don't want to reach this hand. I don't want to reach this hand. Were you thinking that?
Yeah, I can't fake it. That's for those holes. Definitely my game. I'm like 10-5 reach. I fall into that trap way too much. I having put a hand together. Maybe that's the real problem with my thinking is that before putting the hand together, I've already become invested in winning the hand. Whereas I think one of the main points he's saying there is that we don't really need to win this hand. Like if we're gonna win this hand, let's win it in such a way that we're not risking a lot by trying to win it. And a lot of times I end up getting invested so much in a hand that's like, well, I've spent all this time trying to put this hand together. I can't just not try to win it. If you go into this hand with that attitude, like, I'm in the top place here. I'm not really threatened right now. I don't need to push unnecessarily. That's a much better way of approaching the hand to begin with. Yeah, like instead of like before last week we had, okay, let's go for Jim-chan here. Here we don't have that kind of plan. The kind of plan we should going into this with is like, I should be planning on maybe giving this up more than really trying to win it in the end. And if I am going to win it, then I need to win it in such a way that I'm not risking a lot. Like I have a cheap win that I don't have to reach with.
This is not actually the first time that we've heard that concept even in Prost. It might be the first time I've viewed this, but as we definitely have other episodes either already aired or coming in which other pros have said, this is not a hand you really need to win. And that's huge because when you're playing, you're like, okay, I just want to win every hand. And you cannot. So like picking and choosing which hands you need to win and don't need to win seems like a big strategy. Yeah. And West is discarded. I think that's pretty much what I would do, the 9.
Pretty standard, I would think, yeah.
Yeah, that helps you get kind of to Tanyao, so it gets you a faster hand, like Kono-san was saying.
そうなんですけどね、これチーピン引いた時にピンズの形が強くなるので、チュン切っちゃってよかったかなって気がしますね。一応チュンションパイで下茶が第一の9ピンなんで、下茶からリーチが入った時9ピンが打てるというのもあって、タンヤオでね9ピン切っていってもいいんですけど、結局マンズがね一通になるのか単4になるのかまだちょっとわからないので、チューン打っちゃって広げちゃってもいいかなって気はしますけどね。もちろんチューン重なっていたいんですけど、手配の自由度を上げていいかなっていう気はしました。
It's good advice that I didn't give. I would...
Right.
This is why we have guest pros.
Yeah, right.
There's a 7, so it would have been stronger.
Devil.
This, I think I mentioned last episode that Nikki-san sometimes brings tiles that he's thinking about discarding to the side of his hand instead of keeping them in the hand. So here,
はい。
that's so that's a good discard.
はい、問題です。3万と G1 で G 点が取れるので、
Okay,
別に OK だと思います。
cool, awesome, good job, Ricky-san. And of course, the 3 you can still use the 5 as your pair.
One show could become an issue.
So this is just one away from ready. Ooh. I think this was a point. I kind of watched the sand a little bit. So, I mean, here I would discard probably the 2, maybe. What do you think, Garth?
Yeah, I mean, so having already thrown away that tempai, the 2 and the 8 are not useful. You've got that 4, 5, 5, 6 thing is really, it's better to think of that as 2 open-ended weights rather than one solid shape of something. If you think about it as the 4, 5 waiting for the 3, 6, 5, 6 waiting for 4, 7, yeah, you don't need the 2 or the 8. If you draw the 7, you have the Sanmen Machi. So I guess I would throw the 2 first, just because if we draw the 3, we can't use the Sanmen Machi because it's a free 10 anyway. So yeah, I would throw the 2 first and then throw the 8 later and hope for a nice 4, 6 to get the Ipeiko also.
そうですね、ここはリャンワン切りなんですけど、逆に手が良すぎてちょっと難しくなりましたよね。こうなるとマンガンクラスを狙える手になってきたので、相手の親を流すことよりもタッチャーとのリードを広げるってことが目的に変わってきた感じですよね。だからこうなると、例えばスーワンとかローマン引いてメンタルピンツも一平こうでね、一発とか裏が絡むと羽間になるので、そうするとトップ率が高くなるので、今ね2番手の2人はマンガン積まられると、逆転されちゃうんで、ここまでいい点になってくると今度は逆にリードを広げたくなりますよね。一応リャンワンとパーワンの比較は、パーワンは1人に通っていて、リャンワンは親の裏筋に当たるので先にリャンワンの方がいいですね。はい。
Okay. He's kind of thinking and he does the Ryaman. Good job. Yay. We always still find things to talk about. Of the 4, here we go. This is something I wanted to bring up. So this is something we see a lot on streams, is that when you draw a tile and you have the other tile and you're this close to ready, you see it just starts, the karagiri starts. Karagiri. So I wanted to talk about karagiri.
まずkaragiri の前にこの手はパーワン切りですね、先に。
それも、
はい、数ピンがね自分から3枚見えたので、やっぱり3ピンを引いた時にものすごく強い手になるので、これは先にパーワンを切っとかないと、遠い面にねパーワンが先々危なく、もしかしたら今でも当たるかもしれないですけど、先々ね当たるかもしれないので、もうここでパーワン切っておかないとちょっとダメですね。で、空切りに関しては相手に自分の手配構成をぼやかすっていう意味で使うパターンがあるんですけど、この場合は2差しは完成、要はデキメンスなので空切りしてもいいかなと思います。ただこの空切りは手が進んだように見えるので、それは相手に対して自分の手が進んだように見せた方がいいのか、進んでないように見せた方がいいのかで使う使わないが変わってくるかなって気がしますね。この場合は空切りしない方が良さそうかな。手泣いてる人に対して通ってない刃を切るわけなんで、ちょっと強いじゃないですか。自分が上がりたいときは自分の手はなるべく遅く安く見せた方がいいので、だから自分の手が上がりにくいようなときは自分の手は速い高いっていう風に見せた方がよくて、ギャップを使いたいんですよね。 でこの場合数ピンってそのトイメンに対しては通ってない範囲なのでちょっと強いんですよね。場に対して手から出してるんで手が進んだように見えてるので、実際自分の手は上がりやすい、上がりに近いような手なので、ここは弱く見せたいので、これはつむぎ切るんであればねつむぎりの方がいいかなと。ただここはパーワンを切った方がいいかなと思いますね。
Thank you for covering my point and also saying that it's wrong anyway. Well, he kept the 8. I guess the 8 does like give you a chance at some menmachi, but it's not going to be Tanya necessarily then.
ただ2人仕掛けが入ったのでもうゆっくりとは構えてられなくなりましたね。高い手は見えるんですけど、もう全然マンズが安いので全然これチー点取ってってもいいような感じですね。
Okay, Tenpai. So if we're going with the original goal, which was to win quickly and end the dealer's turn at dealer, then the Yamiten looks kind of perfect. The goal that we had in the middle, we wanted to make it more expensive, so then you would have to reach. But now we're getting further along, and now there's 2 people that are calling for tiles, so maybe our goal has changed again.
はい、その通りです。はい、じゃあナイスです。その通りで最初に考えていたことが高い手が見える。ただそれはやっぱり先手を取るってことが前提で2人にも取られてしまったので、この手はまた勝負手からかわし手に変わるってことですね。なのでここは闇点で大正解ですね。でマンズの上が安くて実際にトイメンが G12 枚切っていると。で、下茶もソーズっぽい仕掛けですよね。パーソー泣いて想像1枚も切っていなくて、で自敗が出てきたと。なのでこの後闇点にしていて大事なのは想像を引いた時にどうするかですね。ドラがウソなんでまだテンパイはしていないだろうけど、やっぱり泣かしたくはないので想像を持ってきた時に回すって意味も含めて闇点ですね、ここは。
Garth, would you be able to do that? If you pulled a 6 of BAMs, would you discard some?
Of course. No, not. It depends. So, like you said, right now, it probably feels like he's not quite Tenpai yet. And so that's the kind of situation where I feel like, oh, I still got time. I can still go for it. And I'd probably push there unnecessarily, quite like he says, perhaps giving him a tile that he needs to advance his hand. And that kind of sticky play is the play that wins you more games than probably my play does. So yeah, I probably don't give up in this situation as often as I should, especially given what we decided at first that, we don't need to win this hand.
I'm just like, don't be Tenpai, don't be Tenpai, don't be Tenpai.
Yeah. Right? And we've come this far.
So now I'm really anxious to see what happens. Is he gonna draw a BAM?
Oh, he wins.
Okay, phew. We ended up achieving the original goal.
はい、したので、この曲はいい曲でしたねっていうことですね。
So as you can see when we prost, it's not always like play better. Sometimes it's you did a good job. We have some questions. This week we have some questions about tournaments. Professional tournaments are run very differently than non-professional tournaments or open tournaments that welcome both professionals and amateurs. So we have some questions about that. First of all, from Edwin. One of the biggest differences between Japanese tournaments, especially professional tournaments, and overseas tournaments is the Japanese tournaments generally use the knockout method. So you start with hundreds of people, and then you go down to 100 people, and then go down to what do we have, 64 people, and then 32 people, and so we cut it down. Generally, overseas tournaments, except for WRC, just have a straight, everybody plays all the games, and then they use the final points to decide who wins.
Wow.
Yeah, so you have 8 games or 6 games, and then the top whatever players get prizes. So it's more like a one-day tournament you'd have at a Jonso in Japan. So
just round robin and then ranking.
Yeah, so
kind of like league then.
Yeah, more like league. Yeah. So the question is, why in pro tournaments have we decided to adopt the method where you just cut it down and it takes so many days instead of doing quicker tournaments?
まず参加人数が結構多いので、 絞っていくのがなかなか難しいですよね。で、例えばじゃあ100人参加で例えば半チャン4回で決めるっていうと、その日の勢いがあった人が優勝するんですよね。だからそれがそういう大会があってもいいとは思うんですけど、一応プロという名のもとでやっているので、長い時間をかけて実力が発揮、その時の勢いとか運だけで決まらないようになるべく長い回数でやってるって感じですかね。
And then we have one more question about tournaments. So most of our viewers, if they're playing in live tournaments, they're probably playing tournaments that are 2 or 3 days long. So they're going to have between 6 and 12 hanchan, let's say. So when you're playing in those tournaments, from the very first hanchan, are you shooting for first place in every game? Or like in the first game, if you have a decided second place, would you take like a risky reach to try and get first place? Or would you try and like bank the positive second place?
それだとリスクを負ってでもリーチをかけた方がいいと思います。やっぱり64人で半チャン8回だと多分優勝100、その注意点とかでちょっと違うと思うんですけど、100じゃ多分全然優勝には足らないと思うので、なるべく大きいトップを狙っていった方がいいので、例えば64人を半チャン8回で半分の32人にするんであれば、やめての2着キープ、ずっと2着キープしていれば通過できるので、それでもいいと思うんですけど、優勝を狙うとなったら大きいポイントが必要なので、あえてリスクを負ってでも勝負に行った方がいいかなと思いますね。その人の目標が優勝であれば。
Okay, that's a great answer. I think that a lot of people will take that to heart because there's a lot of tournaments happening right now. And also, if you're having a tournament overseas, please let us know. We're happy to like send some prizes and stuff from reachmahjong.com, Mahjong 10 channel kind of things. Once again, like and subscribe. Follow Konno-san on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter and everything. Blah, 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 X, whatever it is. Don't know. That's it for our show today.
And thanks again to RPG Reiki. Follow RPG Reiki too. And thanks again to Kono for sharing his insights with Prost. Thanks to you all for watching, and be sure to join me and Jen again with Kono on our next episode of Prost on our journey to finally get enough advice to play like a pro.
Thank you. ありがとうございます。バイバイ。
Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Hey, nice English.